For this lesson, what we're going to be looking at is some of the powers that Congress has. So, we've talked about it in the past that the main role of Congress is to be able to pass laws. But there are certain things that also go into passing laws that may have what a lot of people look at as being negative consequences for the government. One of the main things that we look at with that is the idea of pork barrel spending. Pork barrel spending is the concept of passing legislation that will only benefit your constituency. So when we look at these different types of things, it would be like if there was money set aside in a bill to buy a park for my district. Right? The only place that is benefiting is my district. And the reason why I would want that is because it makes it look like I am doing a good job for my district and gives me a better opportunity of being reelected. Because when we look at what a politician's number one goal is, a politician's number one goal is to be reelected. Okay, so that pork barrel spending, that pork is extra spending that's put in that isn't necessary to the actual working of the main portion of the bill. Alright, and like I said, it has a very narrow concept. Other names that can be used to talk about pork barrel spending are earmarks and riders. So it's called an earmark because you specifically, like when you earmark a book, to set it aside, that it's earmarking it for a specific purpose, or a rider. It's called a rider because a lot of times this money is kind of piggybacked on a more important bill, and it sneaks through or rides on that more important bill into becoming law. Okay, pork barrel spending is often referred to as wasteful spending by those who oppose the process of earmarks and riders. They look at it as being unnecessary, and they look at it as being kind of extraneous. Many times, pork, earmarks, and riders are added to bills because of political log rolling. Log rolling is similar to the concept of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. So, hey, I need a park. Well, hey, I need a waste treatment facility. Let's switch. I'll support your bill if you support my bill. And then everybody gets what they want. And unfortunately, that has a tendency to balloon the budget that we have in the United States. Alright, we'll look at some of the other powers. One of the main powers that Congress has is the idea of congressional oversight. Congressional oversight is the ability to require executive agencies to submit reports on their activities. So if I work for the EPA, I would have to submit log hours for what people are doing, how we're spending our money, those types of things. So reporting all of the activities that are going on. To review those agencies' budgets. So every single budget within the federal government is required to hand over budgets and how they are spending their money to Congress. So they can determine if A, they're not getting enough money and hey, we should give you more, or B, hey, you're doing a really crappy job with the money that we're giving you, so now we're not going to allow you to have any of this money anymore. So it's a kind of a check on that executive agency. And they direct the support agencies to monitor the executive branch. So to make sure that the executive branch is doing the things that they're supposed to be doing within these agencies. Congressional oversight is not the same thing as checks and balances. There you will have an opportunity to maybe get FRQs in the future that are going to ask you to talk about congressional oversight. Congressional oversight is not the same thing as a check and a balance. Alright, so you want to avoid those different types of things. The three things you want to focus on is the submission of reports, the oversight to be able to monitor what those agencies are doing, and to be able to look at those budgets. And those are really the three things that you want to stick to when you look at the idea of congressional oversight. Alright, electoral duties. If a presidential candidate does not receive a majority of electoral votes in the election, then Congress gets to choose who the president is. Okay, and when we look at it, there's a very specific way in which that rule works. The House of Representatives is the house that gets to choose who the president is, because the idea is that the president is supposed to be a representative of the people, and since the House of Representatives is a representative of the people as a whole, then they're the ones that get the opportunity to vote. Now, it's not that every single representative gets a vote in this, it's that every single state gets a vote. So it's still going to go pretty much the way that you would normally look at it on an electoral map, and there's a lot of fighting that can take place within a state. And that's why if there are more Democratic representatives than Republican representatives, then they're obviously going to vote Democratically. But if there are more Republican representatives than Democratic, then they're going to vote Republican. Alright, so all you have to do is win a majority in the House. The Vice President is chosen by the Senate, and that's because the Vice President is the President of the Senate. And that's also a simple majority in which each state gets one vote. Impeachment. Impeachment is another huge power that the congressional branch has, and this is a check on the executive branch. Impeachment does not mean what a lot of people say impeachment means. A lot of people, when you throw the term impeachment around like you are actually removing somebody from office. That is not what impeachment means. Impeachment means to accuse, bring charges based upon treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. So you are charging somebody with a crime with the potential of removing them from office. So just because you are impeached does not mean that you're actually going to leave office. Alright, impeachment is initiated by the House of Representatives by a majority vote. Conviction within that trial requires a 2/3 vote in the Senate. So you need 66 senators to go for impeachment. We have had 2 presidents impeached in American history. Those 2 presidents are Bill Clinton and Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson was impeached for firing a cabinet member early. It was later found that that law was unconstitutional and that the president could fire a cabinet member when they deemed necessary. And Bill Clinton was impeached for lying under oath about an inappropriate relationship that he was having with a White House intern. Checks and balances. Congress has these checks and balance powers. Congress can make laws. They can create agencies and programs, and they can appropriate funds to carry out laws and programs. So since they're the ones that make the laws and the president has to execute them, that's kind of a way of having power over that. They create agencies and programs that are responsible for implementing those laws. Alright, the appropriation of funds is a ginormous, it is absolutely huge, is one of the most important powers that Congress has. So their ability to appropriate funds allows them to, say the president wants a program put in place. And they're going to we're instituting this program and we want it to be a priority. Well, if Congress doesn't give them any money, then that program's not going to go anywhere. Or if Congress agrees with the program, then they can give it lots of money to try and push that. So the ability of the Congress to appropriate money is a huge, 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 huge concept. And appropriate is one of those magic words, it's a buzzword, that if you're talking about spending of money in Congress, you should really say that they are appropriating that money. It's going to make your FRQs sound a lot better, and it's going to make you sound a lot more knowledgeable as far as how actually the government works. Alright, other powers that Congress has is that they can override a presidential veto with a 2/3 vote. This is known as a legislative veto. So if Congress passes a law and then the president says no, they can override that no vote with 2/3 vote. And the reason that that's put in place is because a 2/3 vote is very, very hard to get. They also may remove the president through impeachment, and we just talked about the impeachment process. Alright. The Senate approves treaties and presidential appointments. That's another huge, huge check on the executive branch that Congress has. Sometimes the president will try and get around these appointment processes through something known as a recess appointment. A recess appointment is when someone takes the position of appointment and then must be approved by the end of the next congressional session in order to keep their job. So, Congress is only in session for certain amounts of time. So if Congress goes on recess, then the president can make a recess appointment, and then that person can serve in that position until the end of the next congressional session. And by the end of the next congressional session, they either have to be approved for that job or disapproved for that job. And the vast majority of people who are put into a position during a recess appointment are kept in those jobs. Because it's hard to get rid of somebody after they've already been doing it for a while. Casework. Casework is the concept of, it's all of the extra stuff that congressmen do for their constituents that doesn't necessarily fall into the lawmaking process. So, if a congressman helps you figure out how to get a green card, if they help you figure out how to get your passport stuff done, if they fly a flag over the Capitol building for you and then you buy that flag and they send it to you, that's all casework. Those are all things that congressmen are doing for you outside of their legislative duties. Now, there are some positives and some negatives to this. A negative is that it could be distracting them from actually paying attention to the laws that they should be passing, and that they're not as knowledgeable about those things as they should be. So that can kind of distract from that legislative process. But a good thing for them is that it allows them to be in touch with the people, from the American people on an everyday basis, and it provides them with an opportunity to maybe tailor how they're going to vote on legislation so that they are working for what's best for their constituency. Alright, here's the checks and balance chart that we saw at the end of the first unit. And once again, this is something that you should really have a good handle on and good knowledge of, so that way when you get to the AP exam, you'll know exactly what checks and balances there are on the test.